Hi guys, welcome back to Lunatic Astrology. I am your astrologer, Lori Lothian, and I really want to talk today about how to interpret eclipses in your chart, how to interpret eclipses in your chart, because we're in eclipse season, right? And if you want to check my description box below, you can get a hold of the big, long, in-depth video for the lunar eclipse at 27 Taurus. It's happening on the 19th of the month. And then we have December 4th eclipse, the last in the Gemini corridor, Sag Gemini, and that one is also coming up. Stay tuned. But I want to talk about something that I just saw somebody else do this, my teacher Achuta Baba, and I often tell my clients this in personal readings, how to really get a sense of those eclipses in your chart and make sense of them so that you don't just feel like it's this idea that change is going to happen, So number one, I'm going to give you 3 tips about how to really do this right, okay? So number one, always recognize that eclipses are cyclical. They're roughly a 19 year cycle of stories that keep repeating themselves through your sky, through your chart. If you want to cast your natal chart in whole sign houses, which is the best way to do it for what we're doing here today, you'll see that the eclipses always happen in one house sign of your chart every 19 years. So that the new eclipse cycle that we're coming into right now, the one that's beginning, all right, on the lunar eclipse, this one that we're having now, this lunar eclipse, this November, is beginning a series of north node traveling eclipses through the Taurus axis of the chart and south node through Scorpio. That happened in 2003 and 2004. And if you go back to your life in 2003 and 2004, you'll get a sense of how it felt to be going through that. And I'm going to actually, right now, I'm going to show you the sky on my software so you can see what I'm talking about. So watch what I'm going to show you guys. This is really like so simple, but sometimes we forget about life is about cycles. There's a great quote by somebody, can't remember who it is right now, but it has to do with it. If you don't look back, you can't look forward. Or the best way to see the future is to be by looking behind you. And, in a lot of ways it's kind of true. So, you can see back here in April of 2003, the north and south node in Gresham moved into the Gemini and Sag corridor. And that is where let me fix that. They moved into the to the Taurus and Scorpio corridor, in May of 2003. And that was the beginning, May of 2003, of an 18-month cycle in which the eclipses are going through this part of the chart. So if you go back to your life in 2003 and 2004 and look at roughly what was going on, let's say between May of 2003 and the end of 2004, you're going to say to yourself, what kinds of things could I re-experience this time around based on my rising sign? So if you look at this chart, for instance, this is a Leo rising, right? And that means that for Leos back then, this was stories that happened through their 10th and their 4th house. Now, some people don't really know the meanings of houses. So I've got a free document that's an in-depth meanings of the houses that I created for one of my courses. And I'm going to put it in the description box below. Just go grab it. Cost you nothing. You can take it as a download for free. Because what I'd like you to do is do this chart that we see here. Grab your software at astro.com or astro-seek.com. Use the whole sign houses in the extended chart menu, especially for astro.com. That's how you find it. And cast your chart. You need to know your birth time to do this and see where your chart is, what it looks like this. Now, hey, the Leo risings probably had big changes in North Node in the 10th house of career and South Node in the change of home. And a lot of Leos changed things in their career and their home during 2003 and 2004. I'm going to show you my rising sign. Watch this, okay? I'll tell you my story and what happened to me. And I can predict, therefore, over the next 18 months or 2 years during this redo of this eclipse cycle, what might be going on for me, right? So hang on, I got to get Aquarius on the ascendant. We're almost there. All right. So for the Aquarian people like me, Aquarius rising, you need to do this with your rising sign. I had a change in my story during the Aquarius as an Aquarius arising during this eclipse cycle between the same thing as the Leos, between my career and my fourth house of home. So, however, it was really the North Node moving through my fourth house. So the real energy was in the real estate and home part of the chart. guys, it was huge. Whereas the Leos, right, were having it the reverse, the North Node in the 10th. So a lot of Leos were really focused on career changes and purpose changes, right? Whereas the Aquarians during the same period were experiencing it in home and real estate. What happened to me during that window of time? All right, I left the United States where I'd lived for almost 20 years and moved back to Canada when in August of 2003, the first eclipse energy began here, the North Node, in May of 2003. By August, I'd moved back to Canada. By the spring of 2004, when this is still playing out, I moved into a new home within Canada, in another town, actually, than the main one that I lived in. So we have 2 home changes during that eclipse cycle. And then there was actually a third at the very end of it all. So yes, a lot of changing of home. So I'm going to go into this cycle now, and I'm going to expect some changes in my home, right? It's just going to be evident. What I have going on, and you have going on, and we all have going on differently this time, is the positioning of the outer planets. And so it's a whole different ballgame when you look at what the outer planets are doing relative to the eclipse cycle. So back in 2003 and 4, the eclipses were unable to connect at all with Pluto, right? Because Pluto's what we call an aversion to the eclipse cycle. So Pluto, transformation, death, rebirth, has nothing to do with it. He was pretty well off duty, all right? And Neptune and Uranus, well, Neptune was squaring the eclipse cycle and Uranus was trining it. So positive sudden changes that the eclipses were bringing for a lot of people, electrifying changes for me. Uranus in my second house is a rags to riches story. Believe it or not, by doing this move, I went from rags to riches because I bought a house in Vancouver and then sold it a few years later, doubled my money with my ex-husband. So, you know, you can literally look at the sky, put the outer planets in because they tell a tonal quality of what happened back then. Go do this for yourself. It's really fun to see. And then if we jump forward in time, and I'll show you what that looks like to now. Give me a minute, it's taking me a while. Oh, it doesn't help to go by hours. I want to go by years. Excuse me on that one. I've had a long day today. I've been recording my 2021 year ahead videos, so I'm kind of tired. I like recording them, but recording takes a lot of energy. May 28th, 2021. Okay, so now we're going to get to our current time frame, and we're talking about the new eclipse cycle, right? So you can see this new eclipse cycle. I just jumped us to May 2022. I didn't mean to do that, but by the way, in July of 2022, Uranus and the North Node will collide in Taurus. That's going to be a good video to do. But you can just say that the corridor of the eclipses that's happening between, you know, November of 2021 to May of 2023 is that Taurus Scorpio axis, North Node in Taurus. And you can see this time that Uranus is right there in the zone of Taurus. Last time Uranus was, you know, participating in a trine or flowing harmonious energy with the eclipse cycle of 2003 and 4, positive, flowing, luscious, opportune, and abundant changes that are unexpected. But also now it's Uranus is right in the thick of it. Radical reinvention, freedom, innovation, change, right? It's intense with Uranus in the sign of these eclipses for each of us in the North Node part of the eclipses. The North Node blows up what it touches, and Uranus is getting extra strong, extra powerful, especially in June and July next summer 22, when the North Node and Uranus are traveling in close proximity. I'd say May, June, and July, very intense energy of changes that are bolting through the eclipses. And there's an April 30th eclipse at 15 Taurus that can be where this intense change happens. Wherever Taurus is in your chart, right? So this is a Libra rising person. This is our 8th house of money, bank loans, spousal money, mortgages, inheritances. All right. Now, also Pluto in that last cycle couldn't touch the eclipses in 2003 and 4, was in aversion to them. But this time he's harmoniously trining the North Node, sextiling the South Node. So bringing powerful transformational reinvention and change to the story. Wow. Neptune is harmoniously sextiling the North Node and trining the South Node. Last time he was squaring it, causing confusion, delusion, and difficulty in seeing clearly. I got involved in a Ponzi scheme during that last eclipse cycle in 2003 and 2004. I got out before I lost money, but crazy, weird shit like that happened. So see if you don't have flowing, harmonious, high imagination, dreamy insights and enlightenment vibes going through this eclipse cycle with Neptune supporting it, especially April 30th next year, because that's when Neptune joins with Jupiter and Venus in the sky on April 30th in a triple conjunction that happens every 130 years. This is very enchanting during a Taurus eclipse, solar eclipse at 15 degrees on the same day of Taurus, where of course Uranus will be hanging out as well. So that's dramatic and exciting change, but I'll do a whole video on that one as well when the time comes. So how to interpret your eclipse cycle, look back in time to what happened last time, throw the outer planets in to see what the total flavor is. It's completely different than the last one. Secondly, interpret the eclipses by looking at how the ruler of the eclipses is doing in your own natal chart and what houses it rules. So for example, with this Libra rising person, Venus is the ruler of Taurus. So what does Venus do in this person's natal chart? I don't know, because this is just a demo. So what's temperament, Venus's natal temperament? So in my chart, I'll give you a real example and which houses they rule. I'll use me, because I don't want to disclose a client's chart. So let's pull up the, so number one, look at what happened last time. Number two, maybe I should call this 3 ways to interpret. Oh, I'm moving by year. Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. It's been a long day. Please excuse me. I'm going to move by hour now. I want to try to give you some tools to use on your own way of interpreting eclipses. Number two, look at the Venus in your natal chart. And okay, this is not my chart, but I'm going to just pretend it is. Okay, so I'm an Aquarius rising. When I was born, Venus is in Taurus in my 4th house. What does that mean? Well, when I have eclipses in Taurus where Venus is actually sitting when I'm born, she prioritizes luxury, home, possessions, loving the place you live, pleasure in your home, luck in real estate. So these eclipses are happening where my natal Venus lives. Look to where your Venus lives. Which house is she in? And what dignity is she in? Is she strong or weak or neutral? Dignity meaning, is she in a sign she's comfortable in, like Taurus or Libra, or exalted in Pisces? Is she weak, like in Scorpio or Aries, or completely out of dignity in Virgo in her fall? See how, so for each of you, look to see how Venus does, especially Venus, but you can also look for Mars, because that's where the South Node, North Node eclipses are happening in the Venus-Mars corridor. I actually flipped us back by mistake to 2012 and 13, which is going to be the third thing I can say. So one, look back to what happened in 2003 and 2004. When these eclipses happen, always throw in the outer planets. 2, how is the ruler of the eclipse cycle, Venus and Scorpio, the 2 rulers, South and North Node, how do they operate in your natal chart? What dignity do they have? And what houses do they operate in? What houses do they have rulership over? Because those will all be affected by the eclipse cycle. And number 3, you can go back to the half nodal return, in which the same thing was happening across the same axis, this time 2013 and 2012, when we had a Scorpio Taurus eclipse cycle, but flipped North Node in Scorpio, not South Node. So for example, in my life during that eclipse cycle in 2012 and 13, my career took off. North Node, Scorpio, 10th house energy. I was hired to work as an editor at Elephant Journal magazine, then Good Men Project magazine, and I did a blog called The Awakened Dreamer. And all of a sudden, I'd never been online. I didn't even know what a blog was in 2011. And then 2012, 13, boom, I was like totally deeply into online magazine editing and promoting writers and writing for all these magazines, tons of them across the way, Business Insider, whatever. I was all over the internet. I was a Huffington Post columnist during that time as well, when they had real columnists, not what they have now, bloggers, whatever you call it. So it totally, for me as an Aquarius rising, blew up North Node, my career house, right? So, you might want to go back and look at the 12 and 13 eclipse cycle in your chart, see what was blowing up based on which house it's in. So don't forget, you can grab my free in-depth, multi-page PDF talking about the meanings of each house in a little bit more depth than just 2 or 3 words, to help you navigate how this Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle may be acting in your chart in ways that are familiar to you, certainly from 2003 and 2004, but also from 2012 and 2013. All right, I hope that little teaser of, understanding how to use eclipses in your chart wasn't too complicated. for you. And I'll see you guys soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, check out the eclipse video that I just put out. I'll put the link below about how this algal fixed star eclipse could impact you from this lunar eclipse on November the 19th. And check everything in my description box below. Maybe sign up for my newsletter. I'm trying to build a really nice intimate following, free readings given away every month in a draw, a 30% discount code off, and free access to my divine timing course on annual profections when you sign up for my newsletter. All that is automatic as soon as you sign up. So if you want to cheat, sign up and leave, you can do it. But hey, a little, what is it? Integrity is always a good thing. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed this mini video.